Hello everyone and welcome again. So this video is going to be a little bit more the serious side. Not as serious as my last video, which was not intended to be something about coaching, but just it was for my friends. So if you happen to stumble upon that video, keep in mind that I did not do that video to help people get clear on things and be happy and live a fulfilling life. And be at peace, of course. So I hope you all like my t-shirt. I usually would never wear a t-shirt like this, by the way, for obvious reasons. But I feel it fits pretty well with this topic here. So I'm going to talk about how things are being blurred and how definitions are being changed. And this has to do with a couple of things. First of all, the people that are doing things like this obviously want to create confusion, because it is confusing when you happen to see things no longer mean the things that you thought it used to. And it's not that you have a false memory of these things, is that there's things that have changed. So I have a cold, so please apologize my voice here. So in the old days where we had written books, we could easily see what words meant just by looking them up in the dictionary. Now with the rise of the internet, we have something that's a little bit less permanent, let me put it that way, or that there can be multiple definitions depending on where you go look for the same words. It's not a sinister thing that they're doing when they're changing these definitions. Not always. Sometimes it is. But sometimes they just that the things are changing so fast that things get replaced. And what I mean by that is I'm going to get into a couple of things that I noticed when I was in school. And the first thing was my field that I went in psychology. And the reason why I went into psychology, because it had to do with psyche. Right? The study of psyche. Now, if you go to university these days, things have really changed. And I'm not saying that they no longer recognize psyche as something valuable, but the main focus of psychology these days is mostly bio-psych. And it's fine and dandy that they changed. They changed their focus. However, if it's no longer about psyche and it's more about biology, they should change the word itself. So they should no longer be called just simply psychology. It should be called bio-psychology. So that way, the original meaning stays intact, but now what they teach in school is bio-psych. And the same thing happened with another one of my favorite fields, which was philosophy, which used to be about studying existence, nature, truth, and things like that. But now when you go to school and you study philosophy, what you do learn is the history of philosophy. And I remember one of my friends back in university used to say that this was an armchair philosopher. Now, some people might say, well, Marcel, just adjust your definitions. There's a problem with that, and that problem is that what happens with the original meaning? Is it killed? Is it wiped out? Is it no longer discussed? So that creates a problem because of the fact that we knew something meant something, and now it means something totally different. And obviously, with this confusion, we become lost, and then we seek out advice from other people so we can get clear on things, so we can get rid of this confusion. And now some people might say, well, this is not sinister. Why do you even care about this? Okay, well, let's move to something a little bit more sinister, which is the crusaders. And they were killing in the name of Jesus. And if I recall, Jesus was someone that promoted peace and love. Now, how does killing someone correlate, or how does that connect with war? I don't know how people kind of accepted this, because of the fact that the main teachings of Jesus had nothing to do with war and killing. And it goes further than that. We hear now things like war is peace, that greed is good, being selfish is good. And this has to do again with confusing people. What happens with the original definition is that we have a cognitive dissonance, and that means that we know what is right, but then we're told that something else is now right, and we used to see that thing as bad, and that is where the cognitive dissonance happens. So the confusion leads afterwards, and then afterwards we get lost, right? Like, it's not something that is hard to see, that once we get confused, we get lost. So it goes right back to, when we do get lost, we will seek the advice, the guidance of somebody. And usually what happens is that we go for an authority figure, and most of the authority figures are more than happy to let us know where we're confused, why we're confused, and set things straight. Now, all these people, obviously, the authority figures, are not all evil, but they all fall in with the current model of psychology. So psychology, if you go see somebody and you want to talk about psyche, they'll probably eventually twist it back around into the bio-psych, because that's their perception. That is how they see things. And that's not, again, it's not sinister, but it's just misguided at the end. You should be able to talk about psychology in terms of psyche. Should be able to talk about philosophy in the way it was supposed to be talked about. So discussing life, existence, nature, truth. And we can't anymore, really, because it's no longer what these fields are all about. Now, if you are old enough to remember, back in the 70s and 80s, sex was not very prominent in TV. And there was a very good reason for that, because a lot of the kids that were watching daytime TV obviously didn't have the mental capacity to understand about sex. And also, obviously, there's some corrupting that happens when we are exposed to sexuality and objectifying men and women the way we are. We start seeing people as body parts, and we don't see a person anymore. So obviously that's another problem. So if you look at what we now see in TV, it's sex everywhere, right? Objectifying men and objectifying women is good. It brings money. It makes people buy stuff. And at the end, people want to sell their stuff that they have for sale. I wanted to say another word, but I want to keep this PG. Now, I hope that you're starting to see why it's sinister. Is to start clouding people's judgment and depowering people, taking away people's power. And that's where the sinister part is. Now, you can believe what you want to and say that I'm overreacting, or just simply like not keeping up with the times, and that's fine. You can have whatever viewpoint that you want on this, but at the end, we need to make sure that we are able to discern things as they are. We can't go on and calling good evil and evil good, and if we want to be based out of reality here. And other things that they've been blurring as far as education and society is genders, where men can be women and women can be men. And I know, like, some people will start saying, oh my goodness, he's against homosexuals, and absolutely not. You can love whoever you want. Please do not take this as me attacking people's freedom of choice. And even at that, some people say it's not a matter of choice. People are attracted to who they are. And I tend to believe that. As long as it's not... As long as they're not harming anyone, meaning that if it's something that's consensual, there's nothing wrong with that. In the same way that sex is not anything bad, the regular heterosexual sex is not bad as long as it's consented on both sides. So, let's say that, keeping on with the whole gender part, where a boy can be a woman and a woman can be a man, and this is not based out of reality. A woman can act like a man can act like a woman, and I don't have any problem with that as well. But now we have things such as something called Sophia the robot that wants to be viewed as a woman. Now, is she really a woman now? Should we grant her the same kind of ability to define herself in the way that she wants and call her a woman? Let's be real. We cannot say that a robot is a woman or a man. It is genderless. If it acts like a man, we can say it acts like a man. If it acts like a woman, we can say it acts like a woman. But it is not a woman or a man. Okay? We want to be based out of reality, not some illusions, not some fairy tales. And if we ever would say that we accept them as a man or woman, this is a courtesy. It's not because we believe it to be true. We're just being polite, and we're extending the courtesy of allowing you to express yourself in the way that you want to. Okay? So let's look at other things that have been twisted and falsehoods that have been perpetuated. So we are paying taxes, and most of our taxes have been designated for certain areas. And I'm just going to focus on 3 right now. Let's say education, roads, and hospitals. Now, I can't speak about other countries, but in Canada, if you look at all the money that we supposedly pay in taxes for hospitals, roads, and education, all I can say is, where is the money going? It's certainly not going in these things. A very, very small percentage of what they tell us that's supposed to go in our roads, education, are going there. And the hospitals, of course. And this is again about fooling, is about confusing people into believing that the taxes are going in the places they are. So people keep on believing, so they keep on paying taxes, even though deep down inside we know that it is not going where it is. And again, cognitive dissonance happens, right? Some of us will start kind of like trying to justify it and rationalize it and try to come up with excuses and stuff like that for where all this money is going. But at the end, we know it's not going. So the original definition that these taxes were going is not a definition, but the initial premise where taxes were going these places, we know are not going in these places at all. So let's stop believing in these falsehoods, okay, in these lies. So at the end, we do know what is right, wrong, good, bad. And we know this because we're able to discern things. No matter what somebody tells us, such as war is peace and greed is good, being selfish is good, we know deep down inside it is not. Right? So again, we have to be based on reality. And if we continue to use our discernment, we will eventually be able to say that we know deep down inside what is true and what is false. And that is extremely empowering. And so the depowering that they're trying to do is countered by you empowering yourself, by examining things yourself, and not to seek out these authority figures that are ready to tell you what to think. If you do that, then you will no longer be dependent on these people that are more than willing to tell you what to think. And that in itself is the power that we have within us of knowing what is true and what is false. And that's what we should all seek. So we can stop these perversions, these lies, these manipulations. Step into your power, and then all these corrupt people, manipulators, no longer have the grip that they want to have on us. Because we don't need them. There's no need for us to go and ask for somebody else to tell us what to think. Now, I'll finish by saying this, that, okay, it is good that we take into account and we consider what people tell us. But it doesn't mean we have to accept it. So, again, use a discernment to know if this makes sense or if it doesn't make sense. It's not about ignoring and dismissing people outright, because that is another problem on its own. It's about to take it into consideration, then finding out your own truth. So I hope that you like this video. I'm going to leave a link to my article, which talked a little bit about the same things, but a couple of things are different. And I'll also leave a link to my Facebook page. So if you like this video, leave it a like, share it if you find it you find the information good. If you have any comments, please feel free. I'll answer as quickly as I can. And until next time.